Hello and thank you for tuning into Millennium Movies. No nonsense. Let's get right into today's topic, which is going to be the full cast that we know of thus far for It Chapter 2. And I wanted to start off with the character of Bill Denbrough, who is going to be played by James McAvoy. Now, Bill Denbrough is the leader of the Losers Club, as you probably know. And James McAvoy, you probably know him as Professor X in the X-Men movies, or if not, you've probably seen him deliver an amazing performance in Split. So he's a very, very good actor for this leading man type of role. And it's very interesting to see him play this type of character. And I think if you look at his portrayal of Professor X, a young Professor X, I think that you can really see the character of Bill Denbrough and where he's a little laid back, but at the same time he's very assertive and he does have leadership qualities, even though he's got this kind of like quiet way about himself. So I think that James McAvoy is really the perfect casting for the character of Bill Denbrough. Moving on from that, we have Jessica Chastain, who is going to be playing the adult version of Beverly Marsh. You've maybe seen her in Zero Dark 30, where she does a brilliant job in that film, a very, very well crafted film that was. She's also in Interstellar, which is a really great Christopher Nolan movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it right now. She's a very good actress, and I really cannot wait to see her portray the character of Beverly Marsh, who is just such an amazingly written character that I can't wait to see what an actress of her caliber can deliver to this role as the adult Beverly Marsh. So I'm looking forward to that very much. A favorite casting of mine, and probably yours as well, you probably already know this. Bill Hader of SNL fame is going to be playing the adult version of Richie Tozier, and you probably seen a bunch of his SNL skits, but if you haven't seen him in the Skeleton Twins or Barry, you can see that he's got more to him than just comedy. He's got acting chops. He really does. And if you want to see him in a more dramatic role, like I said, the Skeleton Twins or Barry, which is a series on HBO, you should definitely check those out because he does have dramatic chops, and he obviously just looks like some other characters or some other actors here. They look a lot like their younger counterparts. So he looks exactly like Finn Wolfhard, and Richie Tozier is just a very funny character, and he's just such a joy to watch. Either read or watch, like in the novel or in the movie. So they're very much looking forward to seeing Bill Hader as Richie Tozier. Next up, we have Eddie Kaspbrak, who's going to be played by James Ranson, who you might not know as much as the three leading actors in this so far, but he is a very talented young man, and I think that he, if you've seen the movie Sinister or Sinister Two, Sinister being the better of the two, but if you've seen them and if you can also check, I did a full video just about this specific casting itself. James Ranson in those movies as Deputy So and So is he's a lot like Eddie Kaspbrak in that he's a little bit timid, a little bit nervous. He always seems like maybe he's about to have some type of anxiety attack, but at the same time, when the going gets tough, he is very brave and will face his fears and do what he thinks is right. So watch him in the first Sinister movie and the second one, and you'll see that I think he very much can play a character like Eddie Kaspbrak. So this is a good casting, I think, thus far. Next, we move into Isaiah Mustafa, who's been cast as the adult version of Mike Hanlon. Now, Mike kind of got a little bit sidetracked, I want to say. They kind of brushed him to the side in the Chapter 1 iteration of the new It movies. So I really hope that his character gets a lot more to do in the second go around. You probably, much like myself, I've not seen him in anything other than the the Old Spice commercials, which are very funny, and he shows a lot of like charisma and personality in those commercials. But other than that, I haven't really seen him in anything. I know he's on like this show called Shadowhunters, which I'm sure is fine or whatever, but I've never seen it. So this is the most interesting casting out of everybody in so far in the movie for the Losers Club because we just don't know anything about him other than those crazy Old Spice commercials. The character of Mike Hanlon is kind of reserved. He's the only one who stayed behind, and he becomes a librarian. So very curious to see how he can handle this meaty role, this role that requires a lot of dramatic uh, acting to come out of him. So, gonna be looking forward to that for sure. Now we move on to the character of Ben Hanscom, who's just such a sweetheart in the novel and in the movie as well. He's going to be played by Jay Ryan, who's a relatively unknown actor. I think the only work that I've seen of his of notice is Beauty and the Beast, the show. So other than that, we don't know much about this guy. But I will say, I mean, much like really a lot of the other actors in the Adult Losers Club so far, you can certainly say that a lot of the Adult Losers Club became very attractive once they grew up. And that's the character of Ben in the novel, is that he grew up and he lost the weight and he became a good looking man. So I mean, hey, we'll see what he brings to the table. I mean, you can't judge these people really until we see them in the film, really. We just can't. So we just have to see what they bring to the table. And last but certainly not least is the character of Stanley Uris, who is going to be played by Andy Bean, who maybe you've heard of him, but I hadn't up to this point. I know that he, looking at his IMDb or whatever, that he played I guess, a character in the Divergent series, Allegiant. So he's got that to him, and I think he was also in the Transformers: The Last Night movie, which I did not see, but I see that it's in his IMDb. So this is the guy who I know the least amount of all the actors so far in the Losers Club. So it kind of makes sense, though, in a way. If you know the character of Stan Uris in the novel, if you know what happens to him, and without getting into spoiler territory here, um, his character really is not as important, I want to say. I mean, it's important. I mean, what happens to him is pivotal in the way the other characters feel going into the second and final battle with Pennywise. But the character himself of Stanley as an adult is does not have as significant of a role as the other members of the Losers Club do. So I guess we'll see what we get from Andy Beam. Not too much to go off here, but I mean, he kind of does look like a young Wyatt Olaf. So I guess we'll see what he brings to the table. That rounds out the Losers Club. We know that Bill Skarsgård is coming back as Pennywise. So I mean, he's the man. He's awesome. He killed that role. He really did. So can't wait to see him come back, and hopefully he gets more speaking lines. Because I loved his speaking lines in the first movie. I mean, in the very beginning with Georgie, and then at the very end with Bill, when he's trying to make a deal with the Losers Club. So hopefully we get to see more of that. Another interesting thing that I wanted to bring up here is if you look on IMDb, and I know people can change things on IMDb, but I don't know why someone would change this in particular, because it's something so small and so tiny that I don't think it's fake. But again, take it with a grain of salt because we just don't know for sure. But on the IMDb page for It Chapter 2, there's an actress by the name of Ryan Kira Armstrong who's credited as playing a character named Victoria. And there's no Victoria in the novel of It, at least that I'm aware of. So, and this is an 8-year-old girl, mind you. So I have to think that maybe, just maybe, she's a part of some type of flashback scene with all the other Losers Club, or it's either that, or much like in the It novel. Spoilers for the It novel here, but just to make my case, there's a gay character by the name of Adrian Melon who gets killed by uh, by a couple of I'm sorry, he gets killed by Pennywise, but after he's getting bullied by some homophobic young men, and that's when Pennywise resurfaces, and then he starts killing other kids, and then Mike Hanlon realizes that, okay, these children are getting murdered in the town of Derry again, so Pennywise must be back, and then that's when he calls the rest of the Losers Club to tell them that It is back. So maybe there's going to be a scene like that we see in It Chapter 2, where maybe Mike Hanlon hears about this little girl who goes missing, or maybe we see her, I don't know, fall victim to a Pennywise attack. We don't know, but it's curious that this girl's being credited on IMDb for this role of Victoria. So yeah, this is the full cast of It Chapter 2 that we know of thus far. I'm very much looking forward to this. If you've seen any of the videos on my channel, you know that I cover a lot of horror movie news, and It movie news. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video and like knowing who the full cast is for it chapter 2, go ahead and consider subscribing or leaving a like or leaving a comment on what you think of the casting so far for this movie, and if you're looking forward to it, because it was a smash hit, the first It. Um, I just love to hear what you guys have to say. And stay tuned to Millennium Movies if you're a big horror fan, because I'm going to be putting out a couple more videos talking about Hereditary and other types of horror movie news that just so happens to come along the way. So you don't want to miss that if you're a huge horror fan like myself. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. This has been Millennium Movies, and I will see you guys next time.